guys, welcome to Bachelor. My name is Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. This one is going to be a little bit faster today, a little bit shorter. I have movie night, Saturday night at the movies over at Locals, which I do for all my supporters. It's $5 a month. I stream a couple of movies. Tonight we're doing Stir Crazy and The Return of the Living Dead, a very spicy, funny, saucy horror film. So we're going to be doing that today. So that's why I got to make this fast. So the monkey's paw, women got their wish, and now we all suffer. It's harder for me to come up with thumbnails recently than it is for content because there's so much crazy content out there. Now, what I'm talking about specifically with this, where women got their wish and now we're all suffering, is women wanted to get into movies, and they want to be producers, and they want to be actors and main lead heroes, and they want to be coders for video games, and they want to be all the things. And then they got in, and now they're suffering because the games suffer, and the games struggle, and the movies suffer, and the movies struggle. And unfortunately, we have to put up with it because that's about all that's left coming out of Hollywood. And then on top of that, when we complain, hey, we don't like the quality of this, or we don't like whatever, we're called all the bad names. So today, here's a couple. Let me close these out. Here's a couple I'm specifically going to talk about. You know, the Batman Arkham City and Arkham Asylum and the Batman movies are video games. Even if you're not a video gamer, this still is very accurate to tell you where we are as a society today. They came out in like 2015, I think, or 2016, and the remake for Batman Arkham Asylum was in 2017, I think. So we're almost going back now. It's closing in on a decade, seven years ago or so. And that was like a great game. It was awesome. It was a lot of fun. Smash cut to today, where now we've got Rocksteady's, or is it Rockstar or Rocksteady? Rocksteady's Studios, the most recent game that they just put out, which is where now we've got Harley Quinn, the stunning and brave Harley Quinn, and her cast of misfits coming out and ending the Justice League. Now, that's fine as far as games go. Like, if that's what you want to do and kill the old franchise and try to come in with a new, like, I get that. That's fine. But not only did they put out a shoddy game, not only did they basically piss on the graves of Batman, literally the Flash in this game they did, to where once these old heroes or old comic book characters that I grew up on and many of you grew up on, once they decided to put those in the grave, of course, then they had to make fun of them. They had to give them very bad endings, not very hero-ish. You know, it's not like they went out saving somebody. It was basically just got captured and then Boomerang literally took a leak on the Flash. Well, the reception hasn't been great, not just because of the theme, but because the game itself sucks. I'm not going to talk too much about the game because if you're like me, I don't care about the game. I'm sure you don't care about the game. But already, from PC Games, Suicide Squad and the Justice League has less than 1,000 players online already. And this, I think, this was published a day ago. This has only been out for a couple of weeks. And that Batman Arkham Asylum and Batman Arkham City and Batman Arkham Knight, the games that I was previously talking about back when men were mostly the programmers and not all-inclusive and diverse, they're actually now having more people playing those games than they are this new one from PC Games as well. The Suicide Squad has fewer active players than Batman Arkham Knight. It says it has less players on Steam than Batman Arkham Knight, and even its own Steam reviews as well. So it's not doing too well. Yeah, it's 2015. Arkham Knight has briefly taken over the squad's Justice League in current player numbers. They had server access issues. People are saying the game is boring. There's really nothing to do at the end game. The cutscenes didn't make sense. And if you're wondering, well, dude, why do you care about video games? Like, what's the point? Rocksteady Promotions. Diversity, equity, and inclusion at Rocksteady Promotions. What do employees from different demographic backgrounds think about diversity, equity, inclusion at Rocksteady Promotions? Read what Rocksteady is doing, DEI, blah, blah, blah. It's got a 4.5 star. Boy, they're right on top of it. Look at that. They're doing great. Now, how are they rated by the demographics? Well, by white people, 1.8 out of 5. Not so great. Career opportunities, 1.3. Now, remember, the lowest you can go on this is a 1 star. They don't have 0 stars. So out of 5, they get a 1.3 for career opportunities, 1.3 for compensation and benefits, 2.2 for culture and values, 4.1 for diversity and inclusion, 1.9 for senior management, 1.0 for work-life balance. What do you have a feeling all these were mostly white dudes? Well, if we look over here and how they're rated by demographics, it says right here, this category for men, this category could use your help. We're a little short on data, but you can help. Take 30 seconds to share your demographic info so we can provide more data like this in the future. In other words, there's not enough guys that were here to take this rating and to select even how men feel about the company. But the women did. The women say 3.5 career opportunities, 2.4 for compensation benefit, 3.7 for culture and values, 4.0 for diversity and inclusion. Senior management and work-life balance were lower. And they go through orientation and disability and caregiver and all the things. This is what Glassdoor is worried about. And here's some more frequently asked questions. And how is diversity over there? Everyone has an equal opportunity for success regardless of background. Okay, so you're saying that if somebody has a really great background in video games and or art and or character design and or writing and or whatever, it doesn't matter? Upbeat and inclusive environment. Somebody else says mostly young people. That's right. And that's back of March 29th of 2022. The experienced people are leaving. The guys that were in on this, they're bouncing. How do I know? Rocksteady founders who left during the squad development form a new studio aiming for 100 industry veterans making cutting-edge games. They left. After leaving Rocksteady during the development of the Suicide Squad, it looks like studio founders Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker have quietly launched a new company called 100 Star Games. So here you've got the people that founded the studio. They made the thing, and then they got chased out by the people that came in and took it over. Who came in and took it over? The woke people. The people that want to change everything up. And so since they ran out of power at the company, because obviously if you start a company or if you start a project and the CEOs or the staff or the whoever's doing the funding for the project or for the business itself, if they say, hey, we're going in a different direction and thank you for letting us come in and fund your business and hiring us as the chair, but you're out. They did the same thing to O'Keefe, James O'Keefe over at Veritas, at Project Veritas. And what happened 6 months after O'Keefe left? Project Veritas folded. So James O'Keefe started Project Veritas. People got in that didn't like the work he was doing because he was actually calling people out for bad stuff. They got rid of him. They collapsed. What do you think is going to happen here to Rocksteady? And this isn't about the video game or the video game company. It's about men started something. Men designed something. The vast majority of men are the programmers, or at least used to be, and the ones doing these video games. Men came in and did this, and all of a sudden now the feminists and the feminist adjacent weirdos that want to come in and support it, they've come in and taken over. It's the parasite taking over the host. And I didn't explain this in the beginning, but the monkey's paw, this is a story. It was a WW, let me see here, because I loaded it up because I knew I'd forget. It was from W.W. Jacobs from 1902. It was just a short story. It was about a guy that had a magic monkey paw, and you could make 3 wishes. And the first wish he made was for 200 pounds. He said, I have mostly everything I want, but I'll wish for 200 pounds, British pounds. And his son ends up dying. And as an apology from the company that his son worked for, they said, yeah, sorry, we're not going to take any liability for what happened to him, but here's 200 pounds. So it's kind of one of those things where you get your wish, but something else maybe completely uncorrelated is going to happen to you that's bad. And now later on in the story, the wife says, I want my son back. And so they wish for him back, even though he was going to be mangled and all messed up. And then they heard a knock on the door downstairs, and they quickly said, no, never mind. And then they wished that they didn't have the son back because they were afraid of what they're going to find at the door. How the monkey's paw is relating to all this is because women wanted, I want to be in and developing video games. And guys said, you know something, that's not too bad. Like, we can let them in. We can let them show up here. We can let them program. We'll get the talented ones. And what happens? Well, you got to have more diversity. And it's not all about the games. And we need shorter work hours. This is too much. And we need a better coffee room. And we need a better break room. And we need child daycare. And we need, and before you know it, the guys that were in the industry leave. And the parasite has taken over the host. That's what's happening here. Because here, the two guys that started it walked away. They walked away because it ended the host. Let me see if my internet's back up here. There we go. Same thing now in the movies. Madam Web. They couldn't do Spider-Man. God forbid they, enjoy a male superhero, Spider-Man. They tried to do Miles Morales, and they did a decent job of Miles Morales, but Miles Morales is not Spider-Man, and Spider-Man is not Miles Morales, and the two shall never be the same. But Miles Morales got a pretty good viewing. That's Into the Spider-Verse was kind of the CGI animation that they did out of that. It was pretty good. I watched it. I enjoyed it. It was good because they didn't try to take away Spider-Man. Here, though, these women, this is a project that's like, hey, let's support women. Let's produce it by women and executive producers and showrunners and women and all about the women. And that's what Madam Web is. Madam Web's Rotten Tomatoes score surpasses Morbius as Sony's worst Spider-Man universe movie. It's not really even in the universe because they didn't get any rights to Spider-Man, so they had to reference him as Spider-Person and Spider-like special abilities, and they couldn't even say Aunt May. Like, they didn't get the rights to it. But Madam's Web, if you guys, I'm sure you've seen reviews of this, it's horrible. It's horrible. It's on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a horrible score. But what's the important thing? They've got 3 female actresses. The female actresses themselves are quite attractive. Here's one of them on the red carpet. Here's what she looks like. As you can see, she's got the cleavage and the old mammaries hanging out there. She didn't look anything close to that like that in the movie because gosh forbid you let a woman look attractive in the movie. I don't even remember what her character looked like. Sure didn't look like that. I would not rate it at all. Yeah, so anyway, Dakota Johnson and Sydney Sweeney. Beautiful. Isabella Merced, I guess it is. Beautiful women. They weren't allowed to be beautiful women in the movie. Anyway, it stunk. It stunk. It got roasted. And who's the director and the writer and the producer? S.J. Clarkson, a woman. And here's what's funny. What's she best known for? Madam Web, The Defenders, Life on Mars, Jessica Jones. There's a couple male writers on this. Matt Stanza, what's he known for? Morbius, Gods of Egypt, Power Rangers, The Last Witch Hunter. Another male writer. What's he known for? Morbius, Gods of Egypt, Power Rangers, and The Last Witch Hunter. Did you notice that? They're all coming from the same projects. And a lot of these projects weren't very good. And then, of course, they have a female writer. So what happens, and this is what kind of blows me away a little bit, is what happens is we see it now in Hollywood. We see it in the music industry. We see it, the advertising executives for Bud Light. You see it where women are getting into either advertising or producing or writing or creating or game development or whatever. And they've taken over the host because it used to be a male dominated thing, most of these jobs and most of these things. And men, when men wrote women, they wrote like Sigourney Weaver. They wrote her into Alien, right? Whatever the character's name is, it just Ripley. Men wrote Ripley. Men wrote female characters that are strong. Men wrote those. Men did a great job. They created very interesting characters. Now what women are doing when they make movies, when they write comic books, when they make these video games, they're doing self-inserts. You know, when I was a kid playing with toys like my G.I. Joe and Cobra, right? And I had Cobra Commander, and I think his name was Destro, the guy with the silver head. Or when I played with my Jedi, I had original, because I was like, I think I was just 6 or 8 when Star Wars came out. I had all the original toys. I was a kid. I took them out of the box. I played with them. I ultimately ended up melting them with like a magnifying glass or something. Now to see those toys worth several thousands of dollars makes me die a little bit inside. My father had the first Superman comic book. He even told me, he said, "Oh yeah, I had the first Superman comic book." I said, "What happened to it?" He's like, "Mom probably threw it out when she was cleaning my room one day." It's like, man, that's $1 million comic book. He's like, what are you going to do? And he's kind of right. You don't know what's going to be valuable later on. But when I played with those toys, I wanted to be the character I was playing with. I do remember that. Like, I think my favorite was probably Cobra Commander, because he was kind of, I liked the silver face mask, and he was the bad guy, and you didn't know who he was. The G.I. Joes, to me, they were kind of generic good guys. I liked the bad guys better, but, you know, that's me. But when women play with dolls, I have a feeling, and this supposedly was a study, but I can't find the study, but I do know it as a fact because my sister used to play with her dolls and things like that, is if she grabbed one of my G.I. Joe toys, she didn't want to be G.I. Joe. She wanted G.I. Joe to go to the doll party. Like, she took the characters or the action figures or the things that were the thing, and she brought it into Barbie's world. And so next thing you know, in Barbie's house, there's Batman and Superman and, you know, Darth Vader, and everybody's having a tea party over at Barbie's because she wanted these characters to fit into her world. But what men do is they want to be the character, and they don't want to change the character into them. Men and boys want to change into the character. I've never known anybody that said, I wish I'm going to make Batman a 5'6" bald guy with glasses and a bit of a sardonic attitude and maybe slightly myopic. No, we don't do that. It's, man, I wish I was 6 foot tall and a super smart detective, and I had muscles like that, and I need to get to the gym and eat better, and what am I doing with my life? That's how men think. That's not how women think. And so now all these movies and all these games and all the comic books and all everything is the women have come in and they've taken over the host. And they're a parasite. And they've gotten what they wished for. They wanted to take over the industry. And they've gotten it. But what's that curse? Because there's the monkey's paw. It is you get your wish, but then something bad happens. Then there's the curse that comes behind it. They've gotten their wish, and they're taking over gaming, and they're taking over movies, and they're taking over comics, they're taking over everything. And what's happening? People are leaving. People aren't going to watch the movies anymore. They're going to watch stuff on YouTube, or they're watching old movies. People aren't buying comic books anymore, mostly men, because these are men's industries that got infested. So what are men doing instead of buying comic books? Men are going to Japanese anime, manga, because they still have traditional character roles, and there's not self-inserts, and there's great art and amazing stories. So men have left that behind. What about video games? A lot of people are now, just like I was talking about here with Rocksteady, people are like, man, this Suicide Squad isn't it. I don't like this game. This kind of sucks. But you know what? the Batman Arkham Knight, the Batman Arkham City, and those were good titles. I got that itch for playing Batman in a badass movie again, or a video game. I'm going to go back and play the old game. And that's what people are doing. They're walking away from the new stuff, and they're just letting it rot on the vine. So women got their wish. They came in and they took over everything, but now they're also ending it, like they're destroying it. And I think it's going to have to completely collapse until it comes back around again. I'll just close it out with these couple of screen grabs and a little bit of a final story here. This is a picture of a young gal, cute, although she's holding her face in a weird way. She says, I let social media influence me too much. Last year, I cheated on my ex because I thought he was a bum because he wasn't funding me to have a luxury lifestyle like I see others have on TikTok. The whole time he was saving money to adopt his nephews. I want him back now, but he hates me. And again, it's you're getting your wish. You want to be popular. You want everything like you see all the popular people on social media. You have all these things that you want, and come to find out you had a great guy. But her curse was it wasn't quite what she expected, and so she destroyed it herself. Same thing with this one. I actually read these in an article, but these popped up again on Twitter today. They're being shared. This stuff is being shared. It's written by the same woman, once in 2020 and the other in 2022. In 2020, she wrote, cheating on my husband made me a better mother. My affair made me happier and by consequence, also my kids. And then smash cut to 2 years later. I never planned to be divorced and poor in middle age. I thought I'd be married with money. Well, you were married with money. And then you cheated on him. And then you got divorced. And now you're poor. See, she got her wish. Oh, I get to cheat and I'm a better mother. I'm writing articles for this craptastic magazine, Vain Asylum. Oh, what a great life. And then the curse. It's happening for all of them. They're getting their wishes and then they're cursed. This is a letter shared by Paul Joseph Watson today on Twitter. Dear A&E, 6 months ago, I left my husband of nearly 30 years and moved to London to make an exciting new start in life. The plan was to get a little flat, support myself with some writing, hang out in the galleries, and maybe meet a fascinating man. It was not easy. There were arguments, tears, and all kinds of practical difficulties, not least explaining to my husband that he hadn't done anything wrong. So husband of 30 years, he does all the right things. He's a good man. And she just decides, I want a new life and I want to start over again because I'm having my midlife crisis at the age of 58 or whatever it is. I'm starting over. Wish fulfilled. You have now started over. You're now divorced, starting over. Godspeed to you, ma'am. Now the curse. It hasn't worked out. I've gotten by flat sitting for friends. Turns out that it's impossible to find a place on my budget. I can't do that forever at 58. No one wants to pay me to write. I've been to all the galleries and my forays into online dating have been ghastly. I want to chuck it in, but I can't face the humiliation or explaining to my husband, friends, and children that I may have miscalculated. And I know that I wasn't imagining I was bored with him. I was. See, she wished for an exciting life. She was bored. She wished for something new and a new start to life. Guess what? She got it. Her life is very exciting now. Very exciting. Now she gets to flat sit for friends, and now she has a different place to lay her head weekly because she doesn't have a place of her own. And now she gets to go to all these galleries, and she doesn't have anyone purchasing her writing, so she worries about feeding herself at night and where she's going to sleep and what she's going to do for work and that she's going to be forever alone. My, how exciting. Isn't that exciting? Now you might say that sounds dreadful. Yes, but it's certainly not boring, is it? She had a boring life. She wished for it to be exciting, and now it's exciting. It's very exciting. Now she doesn't know what she's going to do day to day. And it's not just this lady. It's a bunch of women. Gray divorce rates have doubled, but it's a costly move, especially for women. This is what I find so fascinating about this story, okay? And I'll wrap it up with this one. The divorce rate has doubled since 1990 for Americans over 55, For couples over 65, the rate has tripled. And in financial terms, few gray divorcees are better off. This is always my argument to the mat. I've got a video coming out about the mouth breathers over at Daily Wire. They're so smart, they wrapped right around and came up stupid. And I'll be doing that video probably tomorrow. So, the people that say, oh, find yourself a woman who's got very little experience and she's never been with any other guys. And all of a sudden, boom, she leaves you at 55 or 65. Now, not only is she taking half your retirement, but now you're dying alone. You're past the years you could even probably hook up with women or get many dates. And it's tripled. And here's the kicker. 1 in 10 people getting divorced today is 65 or older. A growing share of aging adults will be aging alone. And here's the crazy thing. Here's the crazy. A man can expect his standard of living to decline by 21% after a gray divorce. So he loses 20% of roughly his standard of living. The women's standard of living will plunge 45%. 45%, the woman's standard of living. And here's what's crazy. Women seem more likely to initiate a gray divorce, Brown said. And women, so gray meaning the gray hair, I guess. And women tend to fare worse after the partying, or after the parting, at least in financial terms. Women are more likely to take custody of the children along with those costs. Women who divorce after 50 tend to have less work experience, which means less potential for future earnings. So women are the ones that initiate the divorce. I'm bored, empty nesters. I'm tired of your old ass. I want to do what I want to do in the last years of my life. And overwhelmingly, they suffer the most. Wish fulfilled, curse delivered. Where's my little screenshot? I'll drop that right back in here again. Wish fulfilled, curse delivered. I want to be free and independent without men. Okay, you got it. But you're going to have a sucky rest of your life. You're going to lose a lot of money. You're going to be more unhappy. Things are going to be harder for you. I want to be in movies. I want to be a producer and a writer and executive and hire women, all women. Okay, great. But your stuff sucks now because you don't know how to write. You don't have enough these young people do not have enough life experience to understand what they're writing about. Sometimes maybe the old men that were 60 years old and had been writing for 40 years of their life while also experiencing their life, maybe they were better writers because they had lived more life. And a 23-year-old who's fresh out of college, straight off of mommy and daddy's buying her college degree and or buying a BMW while she goes to college and has to pay back her college loans, and she's grown up with a silver spoon in her life, maybe she's not the best one to be writing stories. But this is what's happened now. And that's why the degradation of movies and video games and culture and society and comics and books and everything is just going away. The parasite took over the host, and now the host is dying. And when that happens, so goes the parasite. Women got their wishes, and now we're all suffering because there's no good entertainment or media or anything out there much anymore. What are you going to do? You're going to sit here and at least get entertainment out of watching it all fail, watching them just light piles and piles of cash on fire and watch it all go down the drain. I mean, at least there's entertainment in that. Okay, this will obviously be very minimal on editing. I've got to jump off and get ready for movie night. I hope you guys come over and join us. Supporters is $5 a month. I do like 8 to 10 movies a month. We do a bunch of live streams, stuff like that. Great group of guys. Hope you can come over and join us today, and I'll see you in the next one.